I really want to get this going, and I want to get our second speaker on stage right now. His name is Nic Cary from Blockchain.
Thanks. Okay, good morning. I hope everyone is well caffeinated. We're going to get started. I don't think we're too far behind schedule. So my name is Nic Cary. I'm the co-founder and chief innovation officer of a firm called Blockchain. It shares the namesake with a core innovation that you'll be hearing an awful lot about, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. We're based in the UK. We have offices in the United States and also in Luxembourg. About 18 months ago, we raised the largest Series A in our industry's history, over $30 million, to help us grow and scale the technology that we're building all over the world. So one of the fastest growing technology companies on earth right now. We're adding about 100,000 new users a week, and it's been absolutely insane. So I'm very grateful to be back in Berlin. This is one of my favorite cities in the world, and it's primarily because people here are open-minded about a lot of things. I have traveled extensively over the last 12 months, roughly 350,000 miles, in pursuit of answering a question about what the future of money is going to look like. And I think before we can really answer that question, we have to spend a little time looking at what has been happening over the past 10 years. So a lot of people don't remember, but 10 years ago, the iPhone didn't exist yet. And I'm someone that really loves photography. Everywhere I travel to, I take lots of pictures. And I used to have to develop my pictures. And now no one who's born on Earth is going to know what that means, because the word is extinct. And anyone can take a picture with their phone and broadcast it to all their friends and get all kinds of social praise. And Kodak is now bankrupt. We used to have to go rent DVDs 10 years ago. And now, on any device, instantly you can stream, download, and consume content instantly. And we know what's happened to Blockbuster. I travel a lot, like I mentioned, and I frequently forget people's birthdays. So I have calendar reminders now, and I send them emails. These expectations are fundamentally changing the way people think about the services and the tools that they interact with. And I think the real question I'm trying to say is that why can't money be digital too? And it's best not to have your head stuck in the sand on this issue. So this was Wall Street in 1957. And this is Wall Street today in full color. It's a $13 trillion industry. It is absolutely enormous. And it comes from about 3,000 years of structuring. As people around the world have grown into a modern economy, they needed ways of transacting with each other. And over the course of time, many people just don't trust each other. And so they created intermediaries in order to conduct commerce. And that's why we have a system that's sort of the way it is today. Unfortunately, it's very old, it's very slow, and these institutions were created in a time before any of us existed, so we've inherited all this. It is a very, very big rent-seeking system, and it is totally obsolete. So let's talk a little bit about its design, though, because it's kind of important to understand. All of these legacy systems rely on intermediaries and centralized ledger systems. So essentially, there are banks around the world that coordinate with each other, and they keep track of who owns what. But the problem is that they own access to all of these things, and they manage it. It's very slow. The fact is that right now, it's faster for me to FedEx this speaker from Berlin to New York than it is for me to make an economic transaction between here and New York. And that's just stupid in 2016. So there's a new innovation called blockchain, which essentially distributes trust. And instead of there being one copy of a centralized ledger to keep track of things, there are many copies all over the world, and they're maintained independently by people. This system provides three core advantages. It's cost efficient, it has way stronger security, and it's totally transparent. And it's very, very important that you spend a little time digging into this. So fundamentally, what is the blockchain? When people ask you this question, you can call it a transaction network. Transaction networks have three things in order to function, and we use them every single day of our lives. We use transaction networks like Visa or MasterCard or PayPal. They allow us to transact with each other. So you've got to have some type of currency on that network, whether it's coins or pearls, dollars, pounds, or euros. You have to have a trusted ledger to keep track of who owns what. And finally, you have to have settlement with a high degree of certainty. If I send someone a transaction, I have to know it goes through. So the blockchain is basically a big transaction network, and it uses a spreadsheet in the cloud. Instead of there being one copy, though, there are copies all over the world. And the most important aspect of this is when a transaction happens, it gets broadcasted and simultaneously updated in all of these record-keeping systems. And this is what's known as an immutable record-keeping system. It means that anybody can write to it, and nobody can reverse or change it. So for those of you that haven't practically seen how this works, I would encourage you to download a Bitcoin wallet. This is what one looks like. This is the one we built. There are many out there, and you can choose one that suits you. So with a Bitcoin wallet, you can download an application that lives on your smartphone or go to a website like blockchain.com and set up an account. And you essentially instantly create software that lets you be your own bank. So let that sink in for a second. 10,000 lines of open source free computer code can let you be your own custodian of your value. And just like if I sign up for an email address, I get an address that I can share with people, and it's public, and they can send me correspondence. With a Bitcoin wallet, you can set it up instantly for free with an email address and a password, and you receive addresses too. That's what that QR code is. I think we'll get rid of those in the next couple years because they're still a little intimidating for regular consumers, but the concept is similar. You get an address, you can show it to anybody, and then you can send transactions to each other. So this is a live feed from the blockchain. Every single week, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of transactions are being broadcast to that big spreadsheet in the cloud. And it's kind of hypnotic to look at, but if you visit blockchain.info, you can actually see this happening in real time. And the number of transactions on the network are doubling every 12 months, which is encouraging because it shows utility and more adoption. So how big is this industry? Well, there's $7.7 trillion in annual credit card payments. This is really crazy if you think about it. That system sucks out hundreds of billions of dollars in fees, and that's why every time you go to a shop and you want to buy something, there's that minimum amount you have to spend. You can't even spend your own money without spending a certain amount because the system is that inefficient. I was born in the United States. It's a little known fact, but 20.1% of US households are actually underbanked, and that's kind of a shocking statistic in the wealthiest country in the world. This is talked about a lot, but there are people all over the planet that have no access to financial services whatsoever, no bank accounts, and that's 2.5 billion people. There are 4 billion people without access to credit cards. Goldman Sachs, which has an awful lot at stake in the future of financial services, produced a report last year about millennials. They said that within 5 years, most millennials do not expect to have a bank account. I'm definitely one of them. So if there are 2.5 billion people without access to financial services, you've got 4 billion people without access to credit cards, and you've got millennials that don't expect to have bank accounts, how are all these people going to transact with each other in the future? Well, what if the parents of 2 young Thai children had access to a better financial system than the hedge fund managers in Canary Wharf? That's kind of interesting. So what is the blockchain? The blockchain is an open invitation to participate in an open, fair, and accessible financial future for everybody. It is the most important thing happening on Earth right now. So what's next, and why is this such a big deal? Well, the first application of this technology was digital money. You've heard about Bitcoin. Well, once you have essentially a record-keeping system that anyone can participate in on Earth, what you have is a global property rights system. And property rights are fundamental to capital formation. So not only can you make transactions and send money as easily as sending an email around the world now, you can start to track more than just money in it. One of those things could be diamonds, or art, or maybe stocks or bonds, or a title to your car or your house. And you'd be able to trade with people on a peer-to-peer network, whatever you want. That's kind of cool. Supply chains are a really interesting place of inefficiency today. So it's very difficult to track the provenance of goods, where stuff comes from, and making sure that as we consume things on Earth, that the raw materials have got to the end of the consumer in a safe way. So think about maybe fish. Fish get harvested out of the sea. Did they get into a storage locker at the right temperature? Did they get to market on time? There's almost no transparency in any of that, and it's difficult for us as consumers to make decisions. So if you have an immutable record-keeping system, you can imagine tagging the goods as they go across the supply chains and broadcasting that to a network that everyone can read and make sure that things are happening the way they're supposed to. Payment rails are really obvious, so I won't go too much into that. But just start extrapolating. If everybody has a smartphone, everybody has a bank on their phone, everybody can start to do commerce with each other. Things get pretty exciting. Store of value. I think digital currencies are going to play a really big role here. In the last year alone, there have been multiple examples of countries that have mismanaged their financial systems. So you can look at Argentina or Venezuela or Greece or Crete or Ukraine, arguably the United Kingdom, which has experienced more volatility in the sterling than Bitcoin has over the past 2 weeks. So these are places that have increasingly weak trust in institutions. You have capital controls. You have people's value that is depleting in their bank accounts. I think a lot of them will start to use these systems as a hedge and a risk. And we've started to see that line up in our numbers over the past year as frontier and emerging markets are kind of a more attractive use case for this technology in some ways. And there'll be other people at this conference that talk more about this and that are really working on it, but smart contracts are tremendously exciting. Once you have digital money, you have programmable money. And imagine a world, maybe 5 years from now, where you're running late to the airport. So you order your self-driving Uber, maybe here in Berlin, they'll be here by then, and that car shows up, and there's nobody in it because it's an autonomous driving vehicle by this point. And so you pay it a surcharge to negotiate with all of the other cars on the road so that you can get to the airport more quickly. And the cars that are getting out of the way are actually getting paid, so you can make money on your commute if you're not in a rush. I think that can happen 5 years from now. Remember, 10 years ago, we didn't have iPhones yet. So the pace at which this technology is accelerating is immense. So we're all talking about the digitization of things here, right? We're expecting the world to get more interconnected. It seems like an inevitability. All of the phones and all of the computers and all of the appliances we have in our homes will start to negotiate and talk with each other. In order for that world to come, we have to have a transaction network on Earth that's affordable to use, that anybody can access, that supports micro transactions, tiny ones. There isn't a payment system on Earth yet, except for this one that shows promise. So why is everybody talking about this? Well, it's the world's first immutable record-keeping system that anyone can access. It's the first scarce digital commodity, which are bitcoins, and there are other digital currencies you can learn about too. It's borderless and frictionless. Digital property rights system for all, and it's the only payments platform that has zero counterparty risk. So, whether you're living in the first world or the third, I think this is an invitation to start to revisit how we think about money and think about value transfer. And so it's really cool because this project is generally open source, and it requires participants across all industries to sort of reimagine how we think about money and the future of commerce. So I've got a little commercial here coming up for you guys to see. This one always makes me smile. So in 1994, there's a television show that everybody watches in the morning as they get ready to go, and it's called Good Morning America. And in 1994, there was this headline that says, "What is internet anyway?" And I think we've all seen the incredible impact that the internet has already had in our lives, especially growing up with it. So I think that this new technology will in many ways fundamentally reshape and get integrated into many aspects of our lives. And so when people are asking what is blockchain, it's a little bit like in 1994 when they're asking what is internet. But it's a really good time to start thinking about it. So without further ado, hopefully the audio works. We can play this little clip and introduce this to you guys.
The digital world is a part of our DNA now. It's how we share our experiences, how we consume our entertainment, how we stay in touch with our loved ones. This is how we used to send letters, to travel, to make phone calls and shoot movies. Mankind invented software and technologies, breaking every distance, border, difficulty, and pulling the world instantly closer together. But what about banking? Think about it. Billions of people in the world have no access to financial tools. Borders and the system create barriers. We trusted banks, but they collapsed time and time again. They take hundreds of billions in fees from us. Bitcoin doesn't care where you're born, what color your skin is, or where you are in the world. It's an open network. It's maintained equally by people all over the world. Anyone can verify the transactions, and it happens instantly. For just a few cents, you can send any amount of money to anywhere in the world. Bitcoin is a global community of inclusion, an invitation to participate in an open world. Join us today, start a Bitcoin wallet, and help us shape the future.
Thanks. So my plea to everyone is to join us. We have a ton of open positions, and we're hiring like crazy. So if you're interested in anything you heard about today, come find me or come visit our website, blockchain.com/careers. We'd be honored to have you come join us. Thank you.
We've just got time for one quick question. So, does anybody have a question?
Maybe up front. Ooh.
What about fraud? Did you already recognize tries to fraud the system?
Was a question about fraud?
Fraud, yeah.
Yeah, so this question comes up a lot. It's how do you deal with people that are not good actors in the system? And so a lot of regulatory bodies are spending a lot of time on this today. There are a lot of rules in finance, like know your customer laws and anti-money laundering laws, that in a lot of ways increase the cost of the system. Today, those regulations apply to all custodians in digital currency systems too. So if you want to exchange a lot of pounds or euros into digital currencies, you're going to be identified when you do that. It's a requirement for those firms. But depending on how you design your software, if you don't actually have custody of funds, then it's a totally different situation. And so just like Google Maps can be used by people to do the thing it's supposed to, which is help us get to parks and navigate our way around the city, there are people that can use Google Maps to do bad things too. The technology is agnostic. And so in that sense, we already have the systems to control for bad actors at courts and things like that. But it's something to worry about in some situations.
Okay, great. Nicholas, you're going to be around a bit for some
Little bit.
questions at the side?
Yep.
Okay, so if you've got any more questions, please feel free to ask Nicholas personally.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Bet. Have a good day.